Okay, today we're going to try something a little different. Got a pair of 1980 Bally Rolling Stones here. One with a pretty nice playfield. Actually, a really nice playfield. This one was saved mostly because it has Mylar. And then one with a really hammered playfield. You can see that somebody has gotten creative with a Sharpie, and there's a fair amount of wear through here. There's wear elsewhere, up through here, across the top ball arch, but this wear I'm less worried about, mostly because I feel that this I can largely probably deal with. I could touch up with paint. This, there is just no way. Look at the kind of molded design here. It's really elaborate, and all the inserts are whooped. So it was probably a mistake to buy this game in this condition, but that's neither here nor there. The question is how we're going to fix it. So my first gut reaction was to go to eBay and find somebody selling an overlay. And sure enough, there was a guy selling an entire overlay, which I bought for $235. What a freaking waste of money. The way the overlay was made is basically it scanned a new old stock playfield, and then somebody just hit file print. It needed a lot of work as far as cleanup and that, but what it did provide me was with a good mechanism to actually scan the playfield. Before I can start this touch-up, I need some good graphics to have as my base. So what I bought was an overlay. It is the original graphics, and it's a good starting point. So I'm going to use my HP 4600 window scanner to scan this in and then clean up the graphics in Photoshop, print them out. I have the playfield scanned into portions that I need, and I bring them into Photoshop, which is what's here, and then I just basically clean up the areas, make the blacks black, fill them, make the whites white, because everything's kind of off. I don't change these colors or the reds. I basically don't change any colors other than the blacks and the whites. Because the problem with doing that is what you think the color is or what it looks like on a white piece of paper isn't really ultimately how the color ends up. It's kind of hard to get the colors just right because of the transparency of these decals. So there's a lot of guessing involved. The thing that I know is going to be a problem are these colors down here. They look great on the screen, they look great when you print them, but when you get done, not so much after they're applied because of the transparency of the decals. But we'll deal with that later. And basically I'm just using an inkjet printer, and I print on white decal paper, which I buy from decalpaper.com. That's this stuff right here. This is inkjet clear. So it comes two different ways, with a clear backing or a white backing. Obviously, since I have inserts, I need clear backing. So I print those out, and then we can actually apply them. Prepping the playfield, basically what I'm doing is using a flat razor blade and scraping off the inserts. The reason is that our new decals are going to have new insert text, and I don't want them to conflict with the stuff that's on there. Also, this game has had some moronic monkey touch-ups that are just awful. So I'm just taking the edge of the razor blade and scraping it off. I know this seems really like we're going in the wrong direction, and yes we are, but this stuff has to come off. I should also note that if we were doing the playfield overlay, which is my fail-safe back end, if this doesn't work idea, I can always put the overlay on. I would have had to do this anyways. So then after I'm going to do the whole bonus ladder, because we're going to basically try and replace the whole bonus ladder. After I do that, I take a little 600 sandpaper and basically sand them smooth to get the inserts smooth. And if you go over here, just remember where you're going. Like this blue area out here is like my edge, and this whole V here down is my edge. So obviously don't sand outside of that, but I want to get these looking as clean as possible for our decals. So now you're probably asking, what have I done here? Well, what I've done is I just took some white Americana acrylic paint and painted all the areas that I'm ultimately going to put my stickers over. And the reason I do that is just to get a nice flat finish, because even though this thing looks great, I mean, it looks like it's just going to go down like a sticker. It isn't. It's a water slide, and these things are, well, they're transparent. The only thing that's not making transparent is the ink from my inkjet printer that printed it. So all these areas in between here, like you see white, are actually clear. So this thing isn't nearly as good looking as it is when you just pull it off the printer. And by the way, after I printed it on my inkjet printer, I used like a Krylon crystal clear to go over it, because inkjet printers are water soluble, and when I dip this in water, I don't want all the ink to float off. So you've got to seal it in. So I did that, you know, many hours before I even cut this out. But now with it all painted, when I lay this down, I have a consistent finish, and I'm going to take a razor blade and clean up my inlays a little bit here. I got some white paint that probably encroached on them a little bit. You don't have to be exacting on this, but you just want to get a nice kind of generalized flat finish, but it doesn't have to be perfect in any way, shape, or form. Just something that has a consistency now, because before I had, you know, wood showing through, and half the finish was there, half the finish wasn't. You need to start with a blank slate, and that's what we have now. So I'm ready to give this a whirl. I've never done a water slide this big. This is a big water slide. Generally, I've done small stuff, like for just the inserts. Something this big is going to be a bit of a challenge. What I'm going to do is put it in the water for about 5 or 10 seconds, pull it out, count to 30, and try and apply it. And I'm going to pre-wet this area a little bit. Help me slide it around. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then we take it out, and while this is getting into the paper and softening the glue, I'm just going to take a little water in my hand, and I'm going to put it over here, pre-wet the area. Then I'm going to see if we're at a, yeah, look, it's sliding. See it slide off the paper? It's a biggin. This is a biggin. Alright, so here we go. Let's see how it works. That is one big water slide. Oh man. It is coming. Wow. I've never done one that big. Now, what we gotta do is place it, which is a whole nother set of problems to get in the right place, because it's clearly not in the right place. Probably need a little more water on our base. It's not sliding as much as I would like it, but you see how thin this is? My God, it's like working with toilet paper. Maybe worse. Try and get that inserts lined up. It actually looks decent. Like I said, I've never done one this big. This thing's a monster. Not bad. I got a little white to clean up on the edges, like right there, and a little there, and a little paint. But when I blend that in, you should be okay. Now we got to put the next one on. I cut out the area over the slingshot mylars, which were right here, which always have a different color to them. The colors are not great, and that's due to the water slide decal. You can see like the red isn't as bright, but actually the inserts look good. So maybe what I'll do when I'm done is I can maybe paint these with acrylic, kind of do this combination of acrylic and decal. But the next one is to do this one. So this was too big of a decal. I broke it actually into 3 parts. 1, 2, and then this third one, which I haven't applied yet. It just was so much easier trying to make it in one shot. Just wasn't going to work. And I have a little overlap. And then when we get all done, we're going to touch up the blacks with acrylic paint. There was a lot of wear up here, so I whited that all out. And then I made stickers, 3 stickers for the 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'll lay these up here too to get that wear. This stuff I'll have to touch up. Without stickers, I'll just use paint. Stickers went down pretty good. You can see a little overlap here and here. I can trim that after it dries so that it doesn't have those lines, but even if it does, I'm okay with it because at least now I've got inserts, where before I didn't have any insert decals, they were just gone. So that's a big improvement. So now I have all the water slide decals down, but there's still some work to do, and there's some touch-ups that I'm going to have to do with acrylic paint. Like right here I have a line, I want to try and fix that. Over here I didn't make my decal quite nice. I want to blend these colors, they're off. This part's fine as far as the color. Yeah, it's different than over here, but it's not going to make any difference because the eye isn't drawn to it. But here, this is really clear. I think we can blend this in with some acrylics and make it better. Up here, I'm pretty happy with. It's certainly a hell of a lot better. I mean, I got insert numbers now. It's looking good. I mean, this playfield's never going to be perfect, but a little more paint touch-up around in here with the acrylics, and I'm probably going to use acrylics up here, and I think we're going to have a very, very presentable playfield. So in case you're wondering how it looks with lights, with the decals, because remember, we sanded off all the numbers here, it actually looks pretty good lit up. I mean, I'm using regular incandescent bulbs here, but I actually think it looks quite good. You would be hard-pressed to know that those were decals. Okay, so we're done with the touch-up. Did this all in acrylics, and I just used some standard colors right here from the Americana brand. These all matched pretty nicely with the colors on the playfield. You can get a gist of what colors I used there. And basically I just blended in the decals to the rest of the playfield, and I think we've got a pretty good look. Oh, and another thing I did is after I got all done, I sprayed it with this. As a matter of fact, it's still a little wet. I'm going to let it dry. This stuff, it's hard to find, this tough coat, but this is an amazing little spray can clear coat. It's just basically lacquer, but acrylic lacquer, but it locks everything in real nice. And you know, I mean, this playfield is not perfect, but if we compare that one over to our original, yeah, the colors are a little different, but man, it doesn't. I mean, oh yeah, I mean, I got to put all the parts back on this one, but you know, I'm pretty happy with how this whole thing turned out. I think you see up there with the rock, we just, that was not a decal, we touched that up. The and roll is a decal. You can see the difference in the colors. But I'll put it all back together and we'll play it, but I'm real happy with how this turned out. It took a playfield that was just completely roached and turned it into something that is presentable. I mean, is it perfect? No, it's a long way from perfect, but it is presentable. Alright, here we go. Alright, so we got ourselves a Rolling Stone. And we're rocking and rolling. Now what I am going to do is I'm going to put some removable mylar. Now, let me turn this thing off. I am going to put some removable mylar over this because it just, these decals are very fragile. And even with the clear coat on it, I don't trust it enough, so I'm going to use some removable mylar, which is actually a vinyl. It's not real mylar, which you can never get up, because at some point, really the best thing to do would be to shoot an auto urethane clear coat over this whole thing, But that's outside the scope of this project. I'm not going to do that. So I'm just going to use removable Mylar on all the areas where I put the decals, and I think we'll end up with a good, long-lasting playfield that will get many years of use and look decent.